The sky turned black long before the hurricane reached the city. The air was heavy and full of salt from the ocean, and the wind screamed like a living thing. Windows shattered, rooftops tore away, and the streets became rivers of rushing water. Ethan ran with his head down, his soaked jacket clinging to his body, each breath sharp with panic. The storm had come faster than anyone expected. The warnings were clear, but by the time most people moved, the roads were already gone under waves and broken cars. He had tried to help his neighbors, but the force of the wind was too strong. It pulled signs from the ground and tossed them like knives. Now he was alone, running through water up to his knees, looking for any place to hide. Lightning split the sky, lighting the ruins for a brief moment. He saw buildings leaning like drunks, glass scattered everywhere and fire alarms still ringing. But what made his chest freeze was the shape of the hurricane's eye approaching fast, a swirling wall of destruction. He had no time left. If he didn't find cover, he would be swept away. His eyes caught something strange near the ground, hidden under half-broken concrete slabs. It looked like a round steel door, almost buried by debris. The wind howled louder, pushing him closer to it. He grabbed at the edge with shaking, hands water pouring down into his eyes, and with all his strength he pulled. The door creaked and groaned, like something that had not been opened for years. Finally, with a loud crack, it swung open, revealing a dark staircase leading down. Ethan looked back at the street where trees, bent like grass, and cars floated away like toys. He had no choice. He climbed down into the darkness, pulling the heavy door shut behind him. For a moment, the noise of the hurricane disappeared. The silence felt unreal, so sharp it made his ears ring. He stood in a narrow hallway of old stone, the air thick with dust and dampness. Water dripped from the ceiling, echoing like footsteps. He took out his small flashlight from his pocket, the beam weak but enough to push the shadows back. Symbols covered the walls, strange lines that looked like circles within circles, glowing, faintly as if painted with some hidden light. Ethan frowned, his mind telling him this was no ordinary bunker. It felt older, like something built long before humans walked here. The hallway opened into a wide chamber. His light touched broken furniture, rusted metal shelves, and chains that hung from the ceiling. But in the center, something moved. At first, Ethan thought it was a trick of his tired eyes, a shadow against shadows. Then the figure shifted, sitting upright. Ethan's heart raced, his breath caught in his throat. It was tall, even while sitting, its limbs long and thin like carved stone. Its skin glowed faintly in the darkness, pale and silver, its eyes burning with a strange inner fire. Before Ethan could move, before he could run back to the stairs, a voice filled the chamber. It was not loud, not angry, but soft, low, and heavy. The kind of voice that seemed to slide into his bones. The creature spoke in clear words, words that Ethan could understand. "My fast ends today," it murmured. The flashlight shook in Ethan's hand. He stumbled backward, hitting the cold wall behind him, his chest thudding with fear. The hurricane above felt like a distant dream now. This place was alive, and he was not alone. The creature tilted its head, its eyes never blinking. Its chains rattled softly as it shifted, the sound almost too gentle. For something so large, it looked thin, starved, as if it had not moved or eaten for centuries. Yet its voice carried power, a weight that pressed down on Ethan's soul. "You," it said, the word echoing longer than it should. "You are the one who enters at the storm's height." Ethan tried to speak, but his throat was dry. What are you?" he whispered. The creature's mouth curled into something between a smile and a grimace. Its glowing eyes softened, but not with kindness. It leaned forward, chains pulling tight against its wrists. "I am hunger. I am patience. I am the end of silence," it whispered again. Ethan felt the air grow heavier, his chest tight. He wanted to climb back to the surface, but the storm still roared above. The bunker had become a trap, a cage not only for the creature but for him as well. The drip of water echoed again, louder now. The glowing symbols on the wall pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Ethan realized this place was not shelter. It was a prison. And the prisoner had been waiting a very long time. The creature lowered its head, its voice barely above the whisper of wind. "My fast ends today," it repeated, like a promise, like a curse. Ethan's knees trembled. The storm outside no longer mattered. Something far worse had just awakened. Ethan's hand shook as he held the flashlight tighter. The weak beam cut across the chamber and the creature's face came into full view. Its skin was pale silver, stretched thin over sharp bones, its jawline sharp like stone. The chains around its wrists and ankles glowed faintly, as if they were not made of simple metal but something older, something alien. The voice still echoed inside Ethan's head. "My fast ends today," it had said, and the words would not leave him. The creature lifted its head fully, its eyes glowing brighter, a burning yellow like two small suns. Ethan's chest tightened, but he forced himself to take a step forward. "Who are you?" Ethan asked, his voice trembling but steady enough to reach the figure. The creature tilted its head slowly, the movement almost animal. Its lips cracked as it spoke again. "I was once a warrior, once a ruler, once a prisoner of my own kind." The chains rattled and the sound bounced through the chamber like a warning bell. Ethan's eyes darted to the walls, to the glowing symbols carved into stone. He had seen strange patterns in old books, but nothing like this. It was not human work, he was sure. It felt ancient, alien, untouched for centuries. The symbols pulsed, faintly, and with every pulse the creature's chains shimmered like burning coals. "You were locked here?" Ethan asked, his words more bold than he felt. The creature leaned closer and the light revealed its body fully. It was tall, even sitting. It was taller than any human standing. Its arms were long, its fingers sharp like claws, but they trembled. "With weakness, yes," the creature whispered, its voice low, almost like the sigh of the wind outside. "My kind feared me. They feared what hunger could do when it was not satisfied. So they bound me here, beneath your storms, beneath your world." Ethan swallowed hard, his throat dry. He wanted to run, but where would he go? The storm above would tear him apart. The thing below might consume him whole. The creature's eyes softened, and for a moment Ethan thought he saw sadness there. "Do you know what it means to fast for centuries, human?" it asked. Ethan shook his head slowly. "No." The alien's jaw twitched. "It means every thought becomes hunger, every dream becomes thirst, every breath becomes waiting." The air grew colder as it spoke. Ethan's flashlight flickered, shadows jumping on the walls. He noticed bones scattered near the chains, but they were not human bones. They were longer, thinner, alien in shape, cracked and dry. Ethan's heart pounded. "What do you eat?" he asked carefully. The creature's lips curled into something close to a smile, but it was not comforting. "I do not eat flesh," it said softly. "I eat will, I eat fear. I eat the strength that keeps mortals moving forward." It lifted its chained arms, the metal glowing brighter. "But I swore not to consume again until the right one entered this place." Ethan's legs felt weak. "Why me?" he whispered. "Why a human?" The creature leaned back, its glowing eyes never leaving him. "Because humans are chaos wrapped in fragile flesh," it answered. "You are storms made into people, you burn and break. Yet you rise again, you are the only ones who can break the chain." Ethan froze. The words felt heavy. Was this thing waiting for him? Or for any human? The storm above shook the bunker walls, dust fell from the ceiling. It was as if the world itself was pressing him to choose. The creature lowered its voice again. "I have kept the fast, but hunger does not fade. It only waits, and today the waiting ends." Its eyes dimmed for a moment as if drained, then flared once more with sudden power. The glowing symbols on the wall pulsed brighter in rhythm with its words. Ethan felt the ground beneath his feet hum with energy. He wanted to deny it, to scream that he was just an ordinary man caught in a storm. But the bunker felt alive now, responding to his presence. The chains rattled louder as though straining against centuries of restraint. The alien leaned closer, its breath cold like ice. "You unlock the door, human," it whispered. "That makes you the key." Ethan's throat tightened, The words hit him harder than the storm ever could. He had only wanted to survive, but survival had led him into something greater. He felt as though the hurricane outside was nothing compared to the hunger trapped here. And now, with him inside, the creature believed its fast was finally at an end. The chamber grew darker as the flashlight flickered once more. Only the glow of the alien's eyes and the symbols on the wall kept the shadows away. Ethan stood frozen, torn between fear and curiosity. The creature's voice returned, soft but unshakable. "Free me, or leave me," it said. "But no, this once my fast ends, nothing will remain the same." Ethan's heartbeat echoed in his ears, his chest rising and falling with uneven breaths. The storm outside was violent, but what lay inside this bunker was worse. A decision waited in the dark, and Ethan knew he could not avoid it for long. Ethan's legs felt weak, but he stood his ground. The storm above was still raging, shaking the earth, but here in the bunker, another storm was waiting to be unleashed. The creature's glowing eyes locked on him, unblinking, heavy, like they could see straight into his soul. The air was cold, but his skin burned with fear. "Why me?" Ethan whispered again, his voice barely audible. The creature tilted its head slowly, its chains rattling like broken bells. "Because you came," it said. "Because you opened the door. Because you stand here when no one else dared. Destiny does not wait for the willing. It seizes the desperate." Its words were sharp, but calm, echoing inside Ethan's chest. Ethan tried to steady his breath. "You said you fasted for centuries, but for what? What are you waiting for?" The creature's lips cracked into a faint grimace. Not a smile, not anger, something in between. "I was bound here by my kind. They feared me. They said my hunger would bring ruin. So they chained me beneath storms that would hide me from the stars." Its glowing eyes softened. "But I swore an oath that I would not break fast until one entered who could unbind me." Ethan's mind spun, his thoughts racing. "You want me to free you," he said, his voice trembling. The alien leaned closer, its face pale and starved, but its presence enormous. "I want you to choose," it said, "to end my hunger, or let me rot here until the storm swallows the world above." Ethan's throat tightened, his heart pounding like a drum. "What happens if I free you?" he asked. The creature lowered its head, chains scraping against the stone floor. "My hunger is not for flesh," it said slowly. "It is for vengeance, for the will stolen from me, for the galaxies that turned their backs." The air vibrated with the weight of its words. Ethan stepped back, pressing against the cold wall. "And what if I refuse?" The alien's eyes dimmed for a moment, and it whispered, "Then I sleep. Again, I wait. Maybe for another storm, maybe for another fool. But the hunger grows, human. It grows until the chains themselves rot." Ethan's breath caught. His flashlight flickered once more. He glanced at the glowing symbols on the walls, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. They were alive, somehow connected to both him and the creature. "What are these symbols?" he asked, trying to stall for time. The alien raised its head, the faint light reflecting off its starved frame. "They are the oath, the seal, the cage written by my enemies. Only a human touch could stir them. Only your kind carries the chaos that breaks balance." Its chains rattled again, louder now, as if testing their limits. "You have already awakened them. The walls know you. The hunger knows you." Ethan felt the truth pressing in. He had not chosen this, but somehow he was already part of it. The creature leaned back slightly, its glowing eyes never leaving him. "Bargain with me," it said. "Set your terms, human, for if I rise, I will rise with you as herald." The words chilled Ethan more than the storm above. Herald, the title sounded heavy, dangerous, final. He shook his head. "I don't want this. I'm not anyone. I'm just trying to survive." The alien's lips twitched. Survival is the seat of power. Even the smallest flame can burn a forest. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by the storm's distant roar and the slow drip of water from the ceiling. Ethan's hands trembled, his body torn between fear and strange curiosity. If this thing was telling the truth, He was the only one standing between a chained hunger and a released fury. But if it was lying, freeing it could doom everything. "What if I agree?" Ethan asked finally, his voice low. The alien's chains glowed brighter. The walls pulsed with light. "Then my fast ends, but not with you," it said firmly. "Not your flesh, not your life, but with your will, your guidance, your choice, I will walk under your command, human." Ethan's eyes widened. He had expected death, but not this. "You want me to guide you?" The alien nodded once, the movement deliberate. "My hunger is endless, but a hand may shape it. A voice may temper it. Without one, I will devour until nothing remains. With one, I may become more than vengeance." Ethan's chest rose and fell quickly. The weight of the storm above felt lighter than the weight of this moment. He closed his eyes briefly, trying to shut out the fear, trying to think. When he opened them, the creature was still watching, still waiting. Its patience was terrifying. Centuries of silence gathered in its unblinking gaze. "This is madness," Ethan muttered under his breath. But deep inside, he knew madness had already begun the moment he opened that steel door. He stepped closer, the symbols on the wall glowing, brighter as if encouraging his decision. The alien tilted its head, chains tightening, its whisper returning. "Choose, human. Bargain with hunger, or let hunger choose for you." The chamber trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. The storm outside howled louder. It was as if the world itself demanded an answer. Ethan's heart pounded, his voice broke. The silence. "I will hear your bargain," he said. The alien's eyes flared like fire, its chains rattling in triumph. The hunger had waited centuries, and now its end was finally in sight. The chamber shook with the sound of the storm above. Wind howled through cracks in the earth, but Ethan no longer noticed it. All his attention was on the alien chained in the center, its glowing eyes fixed on him. The weight of its words still pressed on his chest. "You said I must choose," Ethan whispered, his flashlight flickering in his hand. "What happens if I touch the symbols? What happens if I free you?" The alien leaned forward, its voice low, rumbling like distant thunder. "Then the seal breaks, my hunger is no longer bound, and the storm above will bow to me." Ethan's throat tightened, his breath shallow. He looked at the glowing circles on the wall, pulsing faintly in rhythm with his heartbeat. They seemed alive, waiting, almost calling to him. The thought made his skin crawl, but curiosity dug deeper. "Why do I feel them?" Ethan asked, stepping closer to the wall. The alien's voice rose in a whisper that seemed to echo from every stone. "Because you are human. Your kind carries chaos. You stir balance wherever you walk. That chaos speaks to the seal. It wants your touch, it wants release." Ethan swallowed hard, raising his trembling hand toward one of the glowing circles. The light pulsed brighter as his fingers neared. Behind him, the alien's chains rattled sharply, like they could already sense the change. "My fast ends today," the creature murmured again, its tone both reverent and dangerous. His hand touched the symbol, and the chamber erupted with light. The glow spread across the walls in lines, weaving patterns faster than his eyes could follow. The chains around the alien flared white-hot, steam rising as if burning from within. Ethan staggered back, shielding, his face the air thick with heat and dust. The ground quaked, cracks splitting through the stone floor. Water from above poured down like rain, hissing as it touched the glowing chains. The alien rose to its full height, taller than Ethan had imagined, its thin frame shaking with power. It threw back its head and let out a deep sound, not quite. A roar, not quite a sigh, but something that shook Ethan's bones. The first chain snapped, falling to the ground with a heavy thud. The sound rang out like a bell, echoing into the storm above. Ethan's chest pounded, his instincts screamed at him to run, but his legs wouldn't move. The alien turned its gaze back to him, eyes burning brighter than ever. "You began it. Human," it said. "You touched the oath, you set the seal to break." Ethan shook his head, panic filling his chest. I didn't know. The alien raised one hand, still bound, but the broken chain dragging like a fallen banner. "Choice is a path. Once you step, you cannot return." The storm outside grew louder, more violent, as if tied to what was happening below. Lightning flashed, thunder cracked, dust rained down from the ceiling. Ethan realized the hurricane was not just a storm, it was connected, a living reflection of the seal's power. The alien's release was feeding it, or worse, controlling it. Another chain glowed red, then snapped with a scream of metal. The creature staggered forward, its body trembling as if both weakened and strengthened at once. Its eyes met Ethan's. Again, do you see, human? Storms obey hunger. Chaos bends to will. Its voice was calm, but Ethan heard something darker beneath. Ethan stumbled backward, hitting the wall. His flashlight fell from his hand, the beam rolling across the floor. Shadows twisted as the glowing patterns on the wall dimmed slightly. It felt like the chamber was breathing, waiting for what came next. What happens if all the chains break? Ethan demanded, fear sharpening his voice. The alien's answer was simple. Then I am free. And the world? Ethan pressed, his fists clenched. The creature tilted its head. The world bends or it breaks, depending on the herald. Herald, that word again. It struck Ethan like a hammer. The alien was not simply asking for freedom. It was binding itself to him. If Ethan chose to guide it, maybe he could shape what came next. If he refused, the hunger would devour without restraint. The chamber rumbled again. A third chain cracked. The storm above screamed louder, tearing through the ruined city. Ethan's mind raced. The truth unbearable but clear. His touch had started something he could not stop. The alien leaned down, its glowing eyes close to his, its breath cold, sharp, ancient. Bargain with me, guide me, or watch your storm swallow all you love, it whispered. Ethan's chest heaved, sweat mixing with the damp air. The last of the glowing symbols flickered weakly, dimming as if drained of power. The chains still held, but they were weakening. Each second closer to breaking, Ethan stood frozen, his mind torn. Outside was certain death by storm, inside was uncertain death by hunger. The alien extended its bound hand toward him. Break. The seal fully human, it said softly. And you will never be powerless again. Ethan's hand trembled as he reached toward it. The air thickened, the chamber humming, the storm above screaming in unison. Dust rained from the ceiling. The floor shook violently. Ethan's fingers brushed the glowing mark on the alien's chain. A blinding flash filled the chamber, and in that moment he knew the seal was almost gone. The hunger was almost free, and his choice was about to shape more than just his own fate. The chamber blazed with light as another chain snapped. Ethan shielded his eyes, the glow burning brighter than fire. The sound shook the ground, echoing through the walls like 1,000 bells struck at once. Above them, the hurricane screamed louder, winds tearing the city apart. The alien rose higher, its body trembling but no longer weak. Every chain that fell gave it strength, its limbs growing steadier, its voice growing deeper. It spread its long arms wide, the last chain still glowing on its wrists. My fast ends today, it whispered again. But now the words carried force, shaking dust from the ceiling. Ethan stumbled back, his chest thudding. Fear gripped him. But something else stirred inside him. Curiosity, maybe even awe. The creature was terrifying, yes, but it was also majestic. Like a storm given flesh, he could not look away, even as his instincts begged him to run. The alien's glowing eyes locked onto him, sharp and unyielding. You freed me, it said. You woke hunger, and now you must guide it. Ethan shook his head, his voice cracking. I didn't mean to. I didn't know. The alien tilted, its head, its chains rattling like laughter. Meaning is nothing, choice is everything. The chamber pulsed, the symbols on the wall fading until they were almost gone. Their light poured into the alien, its skin glowing brighter, veins of fire running across its body. It looked both alive and otherworldly, a living storm bound into a shape. The last chain trembled, sparks running along its length. Ethan's breath came fast, his hands shaking. What will you do if I let you go fully? He asked, desperate for an answer. The alien leaned closer, its towering form bending until its glowing eyes filled Ethan's vision. I will wage war, it said. I will unmake those who chained me, and I will remind the stars what hunger truly means. Ethan's stomach dropped, his voice rising in anger. That means death. That means destruction. The alien's reply was calm, almost gentle. And yet, if you guide me, it need not be so. It extended its bound hand toward him again, the last chain glowing like molten fire. Touch it, human, break it and speak your command. Hunger will listen. For now. The walls shook violently, cracks spreading across the stone. The hurricane's roar bled into the chamber, wind and water pressing against the sealed door. Ethan realized the storm and the alien were tied together, each feeding the other. If the alien broke free, the storm might end, or it might grow, strong enough to sweep the world away. His heart pounded, sweat dripping down his face. He thought of the city above, the people who had fled, the ones who had not made it. Was this monster the reason the storm came? Or was the storm the reason this monster endured? The question gnawed at him, but time was running out. The alien's voice grew deeper, echoing in his bones. You are chaos, human. You are the fire that cannot be chained. That is why it had to be you. Only you can hold the leash. Ethan stared at the glowing chain, the last seal between silence and release. He felt the pull again, the strange rhythm in the air that beat with his own heart. The ground cracked, water poured in, the chamber filling ankle deep. The storm above screamed, lightning flashing through the cracks. Ethan's legs shook as he stepped forward closer, to the alien, closer to its outstretched hand. The creature's burning eyes softened, not with kindness but with expectation. If I free you, Ethan said, his voice steady despite the terror. You follow my word. You don't move without my command. The alien nodded once, solemn. The herald speaks and hunger obeys. Ethan's hand hovered above the last chain, heat searing his skin. The air grew still for one breathless moment, then his fingers touched the glowing mark. The chain screamed, light bursting outward in a blinding flash. It cracked, splintered, then shattered, shards of molten metal exploding. Across the chamber, the alien let out a sound unlike anything Ethan had ever heard. A roar and a sigh and a laugh all at once. It rose to full height, taller than the ceiling itself should have allowed. Its skin glowed like lightning, its eyes like suns, its starved frame now pulsing with new strength. The hunger was free. The fast was over. Ethan staggered back, his chest heaving, realizing what he had done. The storm above fell silent suddenly and completely. The hurricane whines cut off like a candle snuffed out, leaving only the sound of dripping water. The silence was heavier than the roar before, pressing down on Ethan's shoulders. The alien looked up, as if staring through stone, through earth, through sky. It turned back to Ethan, bowing its massive head slightly. The fast is broken, the hunger walks again, and you, human, are its herald. Ethan's knees shook. He wanted to collapse, but his body refused. His mind spun with fear, confusion, and a strange, dangerous sense of power. Outside, the world had changed. Inside, Ethan had unleashed something older than storms, something that had waited for him. Alone and deep in the silence, he wondered if his command could truly hold back the hunger, or if the galaxy itself would tremble from what he had just unleashed. The silence after the storm was worse than the storm itself. Ethan stood in the flooded chamber, his breath uneven, his heart beating like a drum in the dark. The last chain lay broken at the alien's feet, glowing fragments scattered like dying embers. The creature was free, its tall frame towering, its eyes burning with fire that seemed endless. It straightened fully, stretching arms that had been bound for centuries. The sound of its bones shifting was like stone grinding against stone. Yet its movements were slow, deliberate, almost ceremonial. Ethan could feel the weight of its freedom pressing against the air. You have done it, the alien whispered, its deep voice rumbling through the chamber. My fast is broken, my silence ended, the oath fulfilled. It lowered its glowing gaze to him, tilting its head as if studying a fragile flame. And you, human, are now my herald. Ethan staggered back, his voice sharp. Stop calling me that. I didn't choose this. The alien stepped forward, the water rippling with each heavy footfall. You did, it said, calm but unyielding. Choice is not always spoken. Sometimes it is touched. Sometimes it is feared. But you chose. Its burning eyes softened. Now you must guide, or all will be devoured. Ethan shook his head, his chest tight. Guide you, he said, almost laughing from the madness of it. I don't even know what you are. The alien straightened, its voice rising like thunder. I am hunger. I am storm. I am the silence between stars, chained for centuries because I devour balance, but now I rise again. And with you, I will decide what is consumed. The words hit Ethan like waves. He thought of the city above, broken by the hurricane, the people fleeing in terror. Was this creature the cause of it? Or had the storm been a cage keeping it hidden? The question had no clear answer, but the truth was heavy. He was tied to it now. What if I say no? Ethan demanded, his fists clenched though he trembled. The alien's glowing eyes narrowed. Then hunger will walk alone. It will spread without guidance. Storms will rise and never end. Planets will break, and galaxies will burn. Its voice softened again. But if you guide, hunger will walk. Where you lead, vengeance may become justice. Destruction may become creation. Ethan's knees felt weak, but his mind raced. He thought of his family, of humanity itself. Fragile against storms. Fragile against war. If this being truly listened, maybe he could protect them. But if it turned on him, he would be the one who doomed everything. The alien lowered itself slightly, kneeling until its glowing eyes met his. Its size was terrifying, but the gesture was clear. Submission. You freed me, human. My hunger is yours to shape, it said. The words trembled in the chamber, carrying both promise and threat. Ethan's lips parted, his voice unsteady. If I guide you, you swear you won't harm my people. You swear Earth will be safe. The alien bowed its massive head. So long as you are herald, hunger will not touch your kind. Its chains had been broken, but its vow now bound it. Ethan's chest rose and fell, the silence pressing around them. The storm above had ended, leaving the world outside eerily still. It felt like the eye of something larger than any hurricane, like the calm before a storm that could swallow stars. Then what? Ethan whispered. What happens next? The alien's eyes burned, brighter, the water rippling as its voice filled the chamber. Next we walk, human. We walk into a galaxy that forgot me, into empires that laughed at my silence. They will see hunger rise again, and they will know it comes with a human hand. Its words carried a strange respect, almost reverence. Ethan's stomach twisted, the weight of the choice nearly crushing. Was he about to save humanity or doom it to be tied to an endless war? He thought of his life before this storm. Ordinary, fragile, full of small struggles. Now, his steps would echo across the stars. He raised his head, forcing his fear down. If I am your herald, he said firmly, then you follow my word, and my first word is this. You will not act without me, not a step, not a strike, nothing. The alien's eyes flared, and then it bowed its head lower. The herald commands, hunger obeys. The chamber trembled, but this time it was not destruction. It was power settling into balance. The glowing symbols on the walls faded completely. Their purpose ended. Only darkness and dripping water remained. But Ethan no longer felt like the same man who had run into this bunker. He felt the storm inside him now, the weight of something larger than himself. The alien straightened, towering once more, its voice calm but heavy. Your kind has always been underestimated, human. Now the galaxy will learn, through you, what hunger truly means. Ethan's hands trembled, his throat dry, but he forced himself to meet its burning gaze. Then let's make sure they learn the right thing, he said. Silence filled the chamber again, but it was not empty silence anymore. It was the silence of choice, of an oath between a fragile human and an ancient hunger. Above, the winds had ended, the clouds parting slowly. But inside the bunker, something far greater than a storm had just been unleashed. The bunker door groaned as Ethan pushed it open. For the first time since the storm began, fresh air swept across his face, cool and heavy with the smell of rain. The city above was unrecognizable, buildings torn down to bones, streets drowned, cars overturned like toys. But the hurricane was gone, its sudden silence as terrifying as its roar had been. Behind him the alien stepped out, its tall figure casting a shadow even in the pale light of the broken dawn. Its glowing eyes burned against the gray sky, its presence commanding, unnatural, unstoppable. Ethan felt the ground shake beneath its weight. Though it did not walk with violence, every movement was controlled, deliberate, as though testing freedom after centuries of chains. The world had survived the storm, but it would never be the same. Ethan looked at the destruction around him, the scattered ruins of his city. He thought of the families hiding in shelters, of the voices silenced by the storm. And then he looked at the creature, his strange companion, his curse, his responsibility. "You said you wanted war," Ethan whispered, his voice hoarse from fear and exhaustion. The alien lowered its head slightly, eyes glowing brighter. "I do, human. Hunger cannot sleep again. It cannot rot in silence. It must move, it must devour." It paused, its voice lowering to a reverent tone. "But now it devours only where you lead." Ethan's chest tightened, the weight of that vow pressing harder than any storm. He was just a man, an ordinary man who had been running for his life hours ago. Now he carried the power to shape a force older than empires, older than human history. The thought chilled him, but it also sparked something he had never felt before, responsibility greater than himself. The alien looked up at the broken sky, its glowing eyes reflecting the weak sunlight. "Do you hear it?" it asked, its voice echoing softly. Ethan frowned, listening, and for a moment he thought he did hear something. Faint but vast, a hum, a vibration, like the pulse of stars, distant but aware. "They know," the alien whispered. "My kind, the ones who bound me, they feel the chains are gone, they will come." Ethan's blood ran cold, his fists clenched at his sides. "Then we're already at war," he said, his voice firmer than he expected. The alien's head tilted almost like a nod. "Yes, Herald, war has already begun." The word echoed again. Herald. It no longer sounded like a curse. It no longer felt like a trap. It was a name, a title, a role he had taken without meaning to, but one he could not escape. Ethan straightened his back, his voice strong despite the trembling in his legs. "If I'm your herald," he said, "then I decide how this begins. And it begins with protection. Earth is off limits. No harm comes to my people. No storms, no death." The alien bowed its massive head slowly, its voice steady. The herald commands, hunger obeys. For the first time since the hurricane struck, Ethan felt the storm inside him settle. He had not erased the danger, but he had shaped it. He had bent the hunger to his will. He knew it would not be easy. Every step forward would be a test. Every command weighed against destruction. But he was not powerless anymore, and neither was humanity. The alien turned its burning gaze to the horizon. "There are worlds beyond yours, broken by greed, ruled by fear, drowning in silence. We will walk there, herald, and they will learn." Ethan followed its gaze, his chest heavy but steady. "We will walk," he said, "but we walk my way." The creature's glowing eyes flickered, not with anger but with something close to respect. It lowered its towering frame, kneeling on the shattered earth. "You are fragile, human, but fragile things can cut deeper than stone. Show me the path, and hunger will follow." Its vow shook the air, a promise and a warning in one. Ethan's throat tightened, but he nodded slowly. The storm had ended, but a greater storm waited. Beyond the stars, he could not go back to being ordinary. The bunker had ended that life. Now every choice he made would shape not just his world, but countless others. He turned from the ruins, the alien rising behind him like a walking shadow. The city was broken, but humanity still breathed, still endured. And for the first time, Ethan believed they would not face the galaxy alone. They had hunger on their side, and a human hand to guide it. The wind brushed against his face, gentle now, no longer howling with rage. Ethan looked toward the horizon, his jaw set, his heart still racing but firm. He was not just a survivor anymore. Not just a man who ran from storms, he was the herald of hunger. And the galaxy would remember the day a human freed it.